We are 3 weeks away from the start of Nippon Professional Baseball's regular season. My season preview will be out in a couple weeks. Before that, I wanted to do something I did just before the start of last season, and that is rank the top 10 starting pitchers in NPB. If you're not too familiar with NPB, remember these names. Every one of these pitchers is capable of landing a major league contract, though most will choose to stay in Japan. From last year's list, Kohei Arihara of the Nippon Ham Fighters signed with the Texas Rangers during the offseason. I had him at number 3. If I had done the rankings at the end of the season, he would have landed at number 6. If you followed NPB last year, you might not agree with these rankings. If so, comment below how you would rank them differently. At number 10, we've got HIDEAKI WAKUI, a 34-year-old right-handed pitcher for the Rakuten Eagles. In 2020, his 16th season in NPB, he was 11-4 with a .360 ERA and .114 WHIP in 20 starts and 130 innings. His ERA was 4th best in Pacific League, and he tied for the league lead in wins. Last year was his first year with the Eagles after 6 years with the Chiba-Lotte Marines. His first 9 years in NPB were spent with the Cebu Lions. Looking at his stats from last season, you could make an argument for him to be higher on the list. A few reasons why I knocked him down to number 10. Last year was a rebound year for him after he struggled a bit in 2019. He'll turn 35 in June, so at his age I don't expect the rebound to last long. His numbers were great in the first half of last season, spent several weeks at the top of the ERA leaders, but the more games he threw, the higher his ERA climbed, and this year will be longer than last season, so I don't expect his numbers to be as good. Number 9, Yuki Nishi, a 30-year-old right-hander for the Hanshin Tigers. Last year was his 12th season in NPB, but only his 2nd with Hanshin. Prior to that, he had spent 10 years with the ORIX Buffaloes. In 2020, he was 11-5, .226 ERA, 0.975 WHIP, with 115 strikeouts in 21 starts and 147 2/3 innings. ERA was 4th best in Central League. He mostly throws a slider and a 4-seam fastball, averaging in the high 80s and topping out at 93. He also throws a 2-seam, changeup, and an occasional curve. Number 8, Naoki Higashihama, a 30-year-old right-handed pitcher for the SOFTBANK Hawks. The 8-year veteran started 19 games last year, with 9 wins and 2 losses. In 119 innings, he struck out 102. ERA .234, WHIP .111. A big improvement from 2019 when he recorded a .637 ERA in 35 innings. He's best known for his 4-seam fastball reaching 96 miles an hour and averaging around 89. His number 2 pitch is a sinker. After that, he's got a cutter, curve, and slider. Number 7, another SOFTBANK Hawks pitcher, SHUTA Ishikawa, a 29-year-old right-hander entering his 6th season in NPB, all with the Hawks. 2020 was the best year of his career so far. 11-3, .242 ERA, 0.98 WHIP, 103 strikeouts in 18 starts and 111 innings. Tied for the league lead in wins, 8.3 strikeouts per 9 innings. His fastball gets up to 97. Secondary pitches are a power curve and a slider. Number 6, MASATO MORISHITA of the HIROSHIMA CARP. As a rookie in 2020, the 23-year-old right-hander went 10-3. His .191 ERA was 2nd best in the Central League. WHIP .109, 18 starts, 124 strikeouts in 122 2/3 innings, earning him the 2020 Central League Rookie of the Year award. His 4-seam can get up to 96, averaging around 92. His next favorite is a cutter, and also throws a curve and a changeup. Number 5, YOSHINOBU Yamamoto of the ORIX Buffaloes. At 22 years old, this right-hander is the youngest pitcher to make this top 10 list. In his 4th season in NPB last year, he was 8-4. Poor run support kept his win total down. He had Pacific League's 2nd best ERA at .220, WHIP 0.94, 18 starts, 126 2/3 innings, and tied for the league lead with 149 strikeouts, 10.6 strikeouts per 9 innings. 4-seam fastball is his number 1 pitch, averaging around 94, and has gotten up to 98. His next option is a cutter or splitter. He can also throw a curve and a very occasional slider. Number 4, Tomoyuki Sugano, ace of the reigning Central League champions, the Yomiuri Giants. The 31-year-old right-hander was a big name in free agency this past offseason. A couple major league teams made him an offer, but in the end he decided to return to Tokyo. He was projected to be a number 3 or 4 starter for a major league team. 2020 was another outstanding year for the 8-year veteran. 14-2, 197 ERA, 0.89 WHIP, 20 starts, and 131 strikeouts in 137 1/3 innings. He was the league leader in wins and 3rd in ERA. He's a 4-time ERA leader and a 2-time Sawamura Award winner. His fastball averages around 92 with a top speed of 96. He mixes a 4-seam and 2-seam with a variation of sliders and an occasional curve. Number 3, YUDAI Ono, a 32-year-old lefty for the CHUNICHI Dragons and the reigning Sawamura Award winner. Ono is another pitcher that was thought to be headed to MLB, but after last season he re-signed with CHUNICHI, so that may never happen. In 2020, he had the best season of any pitcher from either league, 11-6, a league-leading 1.82 ERA and a 0.87 WHIP, 20 starts, 148 2/3 innings, 148 strikeouts, 9.0 strikeouts per 9, and only 1.4 walks per 9. Most impressive of all was his 10 complete games and 6 shutouts. His fastball can hit 94, averaging about 91. Aside from that, he mostly throws a sinker, and sometimes a slider. Number 2, Masahiro Tanaka of the Rakuten Eagles. The 32-year-old right-hander returns to his old team after a successful 7-year stint with the New York Yankees. A two-time All-Star in MLB, Tanaka was 3-3 in 2020 with a 3.56 ERA and a 1.17 WHIP, 10 starts, 44 strikeouts in 48 innings. In the 7 years combined, he was 78-46 with a 3.74 ERA and 991 strikeouts. He was especially effective in the postseason. His last season with Rakuten was 2013. It was one of the best seasons by any pitcher, ever. 24-0, 1.27 ERA in 212 innings with 183 strikeouts, WHIP 0.943, en route to winning his second Sawamura Award and the MVP. No one expects him to return to those numbers in 2021, but his homecoming is creating a lot of excitement in NPB. He has 99 career NPB wins. He throws 2-seam and 4-seam fastballs averaging in the low 90s, getting as high as 97. With those pitches, he mixes a splitter, slider, cutter, and curve. Before I get to number 1, here are a few honorable mentions. Manabu Mima is a 34-year-old right-hander and the ace for the Chibalote Marines. Last year he was 10-4, ERA 3.95 in 123 innings, helping the Marines to a postseason appearance. Shinichi Onuki, a 27-year-old right-hander for the Yokohama DNA Baystars, was 10-6, ERA 2.53 in 113 2/3 innings. Koyo Aoyagi, 27-year-old right-handed pitcher for the Hanshin Tigers, 7-9, 3.36 ERA in 120 2/3 innings. Numbers were down a little from his 2019 season. Especially worrying is that he walked a lot more batters, so he'd be looking to rebound from that. Shosei Togo, a 20-year-old right-hander for the Yomiuri Giants. Last year was his first full season at the big league level, going 9-6 with a 2.76 ERA in 19 starts and 107 2/3 innings. You might have thought Tanaka was going to be number 1 here. He was one of the top starting pitchers for the Yankees. The Yankees would have been glad to have him back. Other teams would have been glad to sign him as well. But there's one pitcher that I think will outperform Tanaka in NPB in 2021, and that pitcher is KODAI Senga of the SOFTBANK Hawks. The 27-year-old right-hander was 11-6 with a 2.16 ERA, 18 starts, 121 innings, 149 strikeouts, for a strikeout per 9 rate of 11.1. He was first in Pacific League in ERA, and tied for the lead in strikeouts and wins, for a pitcher's triple crown. His fastball tops out at 100 miles an hour, but he's best known for his forkball splitter. In addition, he throws an effective cutter and slider. He's tried unsuccessfully to be posted to MLB. That's something the SoftBank Hawks organization just doesn't do, part of the reason for their 4 straight Japan Series championships. He'll have to wait until he's eligible for free agency, which is another year away. So that's my top 10. This shouldn't be taken as an MLB prospect ranking. This top 10 is based on how they perform in NPB, which doesn't always match their MLB projections. For example, Ono is higher than Sugano here because he clearly outperformed him last year. However, Sugano was seen as a better MLB prospect. Not that it matters anyway, they're both staying in Japan. Anyway, that's all for this one. Until next time, this is Baseball International. See ya.